I'm honored and I'm privileged to be here this morning to tell you something about my life as it turned out, as well as tell you about what my college ring means to me. So I'm going to take you through some different scenarios that perhaps you might be able to relate to yourselves and your young lives, as well as some people that might be a little bit older than you. I graduated from South Plainfield High School in New Jersey in 1959. There weren't many scouts, if you will, or recruiters that were recruiting athletes at the time. My high school was only 2 years old when I graduated, so therefore you wouldn't find that many people looking for recruits. So what I did, I had to go to work right after high school. I had a father that his policy was if you lived under my roof, you paid your way. And so that's what I did. I'm sure a lot of you had to do the same thing. So I started working in construction until the snow came in wintertime and they let me go. So it was around Christmas time, the post office there in South Plainfield was hiring for the Christmas holidays. I was 18 years old at the time. And so I thought I'd apply there, which I did, and I got on. And I was able to deliver mail through the holidays. Well, during the Christmas break, I received a telephone call from my high school football coach who I hadn't seen in a year and a half. And he asked me if I was interested in going to school, going to college. To be honest with you, at the time I was making pretty good money. And I said, well, let me think about it, especially with the post office. They had a pretty good pension if I'd stayed there. So I got to thinking about it. I told Mother that I think I want to go to school. He said there might be a good opportunity for you to go to a school in South Carolina. And of course, us New Jersey people didn't look too far down the road below New Jersey. So I says, okay. And I said, where? And he says, Newberry College. And I says, Coach, where is that? So, when he said, if you try out and you might have a potential scholarship. And so I jumped at that, and I was the first person in my family ever to go to college. And I was the last person in my family ever to go to college. So that's how it turned out. So he handled everything for me. He took care of the film that I had in high school and everything and sent it down here to Coach Kirk, Harvey Kirk. They looked at it and they asked me to come down for a tryout. Well, again, I've never been south of the Mason-Dixon line, so it was a brand new experience for me to jump on a Greyhound bus in New Jersey and drive 24 hours. After about 100 stops, I was the last person on the bus, believe it or not. I can remember the bus driver pulling up in front of Smelter Hall. He stopped that big Greyhound. And that back in those days, you know, they put your bags and so forth under the bus. So he stops the bus, he gets out, he opens up the place there where the bag was. I only had one bag. And he throws it on the campus, just throws it about 10 feet, lands on the campus, grass. And he says, here you are, Bo. Here you are, Bo. And I get off the bus and I couldn't believe it. I start walking across campus looking for Coach Kirkland's office. I meet up with Coach Kirkland. He gives me a night's rest since I had to travel so far and said, we'll try you out tomorrow. Well, there was no rooms available in the dormitories at the time, so they put me in the infirmary over in Cromer Hall. And you would think the infirmary would have a bed, but there was no bed in it. So I had to sleep on the table. So you can imagine that. got dressed, and again, I hadn't played since 1958 for my high school, so I was kind of rusty, very rusty to be exact. And he wanted me to run and do some things, and I couldn't even beat the Indians at the time. They were much faster than I was. So I was getting a little scared about that. Then he asked me to, can I take some snaps in the center? And I said, I'll do what I can. I couldn't get a snap. I kept fumbling and everything. And I said, well, this tryout's not going very far. I could tear. And then the last thing, he says, what else can you do? I said, well, I can throw a football. He said, let me see you throw a football. I threw that football, and after the tryout was over, I knew I didn't have a shot, so I was ready to go back to Jersey. I can remember this 50 years ago, walking back into the locker room. Coach Kirkland put his arm around my shoulder, and he said, son, how would you like to come to Newberry College? And I told him, I says, Coach, I can't come because my mother and father can't afford to come. Can't afford the tuition. He says, I'm giving you a full scholarship. And once he said that, I came to Newberry, of course. So what that meant is on January the 4th, 1960, when I tried out, as I recall, and then he told me he wanted me back down here at the end of January to start spring practice. So that meant I had to go all the way back home again, get ready to come back down again, which I did. And I was, tell you the truth, I was fish out of water. I didn't know anybody. But I can tell you this, from what I can remember, the next 4 years made me a man. It really did. And I became a leader. I felt like I had some leadership ability, and it proved so. I quarterbacked the football team the entire 4 years that I was here. And as Woody indicated, I made All-State. You might remember some people back in those days, you older folks. Dan Reeves was on that same team. Billy Gambrell was on that same team from the university. And also made Little All-American. And of course the Hall of Fame. I worked during the summertime. When I left college, I went back home. And I worked summer and earned some money to pay some living expenses here at college. Some change, I guess you could call it. I played hard, I worked hard, and I learned the value of friendship. And during that, still today, I also learned the value of education. I learned respect, I learned humility, responsibility, character, integrity, wisdom, loyalty, and accountability. If I can go back to the friendship part, I made a lot of friends while I was at school. I still have those friends today. Some of them are sitting in the audience here this morning. Without those close friends that I had, I don't think I could have made a lot of things happen. And I still have those friends today, over 50 years. And that's what a friend is all about. They support you when you're doing good, and they support you when it's not so good. And I appreciate that very much. When it came time to graduate, my dear mother asked me what I wanted for graduation present. Well, back in those years, you didn't get your ring until the last 2 weeks of school, of the senior year. That's when you got your ring. So I said, Mom, the only thing I want is a college ring. That's all I wanted. And she said, Tommy, I don't know if we can afford that. She says, how much is it? And I said, Mom, the last time I heard, they were $42. $42 for that ring. And she says, I don't know. So I instantly regretted asking for that, but she asked me what I wanted, so I told her. And I knew she and Daddy couldn't afford it. Well, it was weeks later when my mother called and said that I was getting that ring, this ring. It turned out that both Mom and Dad loved bingo. And they went to bingo and they won the jackpot. And she called and said, "You are getting that ring. We just won the jackpot." Did I mention that faith was also a lesson I learned at Newberry? So let me tell you folks this. So when I look at this ring, and I look at it every day, I never take it off. For those 4 years, it symbolizes all of the lessons learned. I never take it off. I never take it off. I look at it every day, thinking of what great 4 years we had here at Newberry. Now, this is my hope to you seniors who are receiving, or juniors and seniors who are receiving your rings today, I think. This is my hope for you. In the years to come, when you look at your ring, it summons in you the same pride, the wonderful memories, and faith in yourself that has always given me Godspeed.